Welcome, welcome. So, that's the last talk before lunch. So, we have Lisa Carpenter from Digital Futures. And so, you are the lead data science instructor at the London-based startup Digital Future, and they have a stand just out there. You are responsible for the design of the data science program and the delivery of the world-class learning experience. So pressure, madam. So you have over 10 years of experience in the data industry, in data science and data analytics. You have worked with organizations to deliver value from the data, building technical solution and statistical model to produce actionable insight. So please give a very good welcome to Lisa. So bring your hands together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. A big shout out to the Data Science Festival for how great their event is. For those women who are here, you might have noticed the queue for the and having a queue for the women's bathrooms at a tech event is no mean feat. So a huge well done to them for achieving that. It's so great to see such an amazing group of people here. But of course, I'm here to talk about Streamlit. So who am I? I'm the lead data specialism instructor at Digital Futures. We're a London-based startup that's essentially all about training people. And I'm also just a Streamlit enthusiast. I don't work for Streamlit, don't really have anything to do with them. I just really, really love this technology. It's super cool, and I'm so excited to get the opportunity to share it with you today. So, what is Streamlit? It's an open source Python app framework. I want to get that bit out of the way. It's basically going to run a little server on your computer, and then you're going to give it .py files, and it's going to use that to make a web app. Super, super simple. And the rest of the presentation is basically, I'm going to try and convince you why you should use this technology. We're going to cover what it is in a tiny bit more detail. Then I'm going to give you a live demo so you can see it, and there's some interaction with all of you as well. And then we'll wrap up, do some questions. I'll let you know how to get started on the Streamlit journey, and then we'll have some lunch. It's going to be great. Thank you all for being here. Okie dokie. So the key thing that I would love you to take away from this talk is that Streamlit is cool, it's versatile, and it is really easy. I want you to all go away from this just so ready to pip install Streamlit onto your machines and to get started with it. Okay, so it allows you to easily create a web app. And the amazing thing about this is it is pure Python. You don't need to know HTML, CSS, Django, any other framework at all. You are able just to use that pure Python that we know and love and cherish. No learning of brand new things. You don't need to learn CSS, which is always a great thing. It's also built with data in mind as well. So the founders of Streamlit were data scientists. They were frustrated that they couldn't share their data science projects with the world, so they made Streamlit. So things like pandas, NumPy, all of those beautiful libraries that we really love, they are so native to what Streamlit does. Fantastic. So why should you care? First of all, learning how to do front end is hard, it's boring, CSS is a nightmare. Just respect your time in your life more than that. Just cheat. Use Streamlit. Like, why learn something new when you can just use Python? And it's data focused. So if you love Matplotlib or Seaborn or Altair or Booker or just any of the amazing visualization libraries, it will just work with Streamlit. It is all native and just built in, and it's so sleek. You're gonna love it. When I get to the coding bit, you're gonna be like, wow, I need this in my life. So it is gonna allow you to do so many different things, like these. So if you have a beautiful data science model, let's say you've made a churn model showing which customers are most likely to churn, and someone in marketing or anyone in your business says, I don't really understand where the numbers and where everything is coming from. You can make a beautiful little interface that lets them put in the potential details of a customer, maybe a tenure, maybe the type of contract they have, etc., and then it would generate an output from your model. So you can allow them to customize those inputs to see what predictions your model would create. And you can do that in a way that is very accessible to anyone else. They don't need to know code. They can just go to your web app and interact with your model in a brand new way. So you're no longer trying to get other people to understand and interact with Python. You're making a beautiful interface for that. We can do hyperparameter tuning. This one is super fun. You can set it up so you can view your metrics, and then you can have little sliders so that you can change your own hyperparameters. That's your settings for your different models. And then you can just really interact and play with your model in a really satisfying way. Interactive data exploration. So those of you that were in the talk beforehand all about dashboarding, why not dashboard in Streamlit? Beautiful. Such a good tie-in. I think we scheduled that like on purpose, so good stuff. Image processing and computer vision interfaces. Also ties in with the chat GPT and other API interfaces. Is there any talk today that isn't going to just like slightly mention chat GPT? But yeah, one of the key uses for Streamlit at the moment is everyone's making a really quick, easy interface to the API. So yeah, you can basically make really simple interfaces for non-Python users as well, and just really get your love and your data shared with everyone and anyone. Love it. Awesome. So as I mentioned before, it works with all of our favorite libraries as well. So no learning anything new. You can stick to your usual visualization and it will just work in Streamlit. Nice. So we spoke about this one. We can take inputs from a user and then do a prediction. I'm now going to hopefully share an example with you. So will you get a present from Father Christmas? This one was a synthetic data generating example. So all of the data was synthetic. But we can just say, how often did we say please and thank you? Most of the time. How often did I disobey my parents? Every time. I've not seen them since COVID. I've not hugged them. It's fine. I like sharing. I like sharing. I do my chores. We're all good. Let's just skip to the end. I've not sworn in that year. It's a little out of date. We can then click and it says that I've got a pretty good chance of getting a present this Christmas. But you can see that this was running a logistic regression model in the background. So those were the inputs for the model, and then it's done the .predict and given us the prediction from the model. Obviously, this is a very silly example, but you can use it for adding that interactivity to your models very easily. Nice. And then I don't actually have a demo of the interactive hyperparameter tuning, but it's a really cool kind of use case to have. Oh, do you have Pikachu though? We don't want to forget about Pikachu. So this is going to briefly reveal my webcam. This has a teachable machine computer vision model behind it. So if we show it Pikachu, click take photo, it's going to really quickly run the model in the background, and it's 99.85% sure that this is Pikachu. So that's great. But setting up the interface to make this happen was so quick. And this is also online, accessible to anyone. So if you have a Pikachu and an Eevee toy, you too can be told by a model which one is which, just in case you were confused. But I can't stress enough how easy and quick it is to make something like that. So we've already defined roughly what it is. We know it's an open source framework. When we come to run it, we've got 3 options. You can self-host and run it on your local machine or your favorite cloud provider. This is a really simple pip install. So it's very, very easy to get it running locally. Streamlit themselves have something called Community Cloud. It's completely free, and it's essentially that they are running Streamlit on their virtual machines for you. So the ones that you saw there, they're hosted in Community Cloud. There's also a few third parties that are now doing their own implementation of Streamlit, and I'm going to be demoing one of those because it's a really nice way of doing it. Nice. So if you wanted to run this locally, super simple. You would go to your command line. You would do pip install Streamlit. It would install a bunch of requirements and then install Streamlit. Streamlit hello would launch the test site. Streamlit run, and then the name of your file. That's it. Your file would then be live. And the really cool thing is you can go into that file, make live changes, and then it will just instantly update onto the page as well. So it's all very, very simple. Nice. When it comes to the actual Python code, it looks a little bit like this. We import Streamlit as st, and then anything we want to do, we do st and then a dot, and then the name of the method that we would like to call. So it's a very, very simple way of working, and it's just pure Python syntax. Love it. Oh, I have one negative thing to say about Streamlit, and that's that you can't use notebooks. So if you're used to running your Jupyter notebooks, you will need to kind of copy everything over into a .py file in order for it to work. That's the only negative. Everything else is great, I promise. So with Community Cloud, you just pop your code into a Git repository. You link the Streamlit Community Cloud to your repository, and then every time you update that repository, it's going to be pushed onto the Community Cloud. But it's completely free, really quick and easy to get going, and it means that you can make your apps completely accessible online, which is fantastic. Nice. So I'm going to be showing you Data Button. They're a brand new startup, and they're in beta at the moment, or it might be alpha, early stages, but they basically made their own host environment for Streamlit. And we're just going to demo that just as an easy way to show you. Nice. So 3 things you need to know about. We do st for Streamlit, then dot, and then the name of the widget or the thing we want to interact with. We have things called widgets, and these are the input devices. So we create lots of widgets, and that's how we interact. And there's also a third-party extension library, which we call components. So if Streamlit can't natively do what you want it to do, you can import the components. Nice. So we're going to move over to the live demo, the part where I suddenly can't type and can't remember any Python syntax. So please do bear with me. I think like at least one person in the audience can testify to the fact that I've successfully done Python at least once, one time. So do bear with me. Cool. So this is the interface. It's very tiny for you at the moment, so let me fail at zooming in. That's really great stuff. Yep. Let's try maybe that. Oh, that got bigger, didn't it? But which shortcut made it get bigger? That one. There we go, found the shortcut, we're good. So get rid of the sidebar. So really simple. Get rid of the data butler. So we're importing Streamlit as st. st.title, welcome, ready for the demo. Let's try st.balloons. You can hit Shift Enter, and it's going to go ahead and have balloons. That is the best feature. Thank you for coming to the talk. all you need to know. Apart from they did get acquired by Snowflake, and they made one big change, which is that we can now make it snow. So that's cute. Okay, so you can see we've got a title, and it's doing all of that styling for us. So we don't need to worry about like headers or anything like that. It just magically makes it all look good. Let's add some interactivity. So a button is going to go ahead and create a button. No shockers there. I do need to give it a name though. I'm just going to put my button, because why would I come up with a good, useful name? And then I can give it a label. This is going to be what's on there. So I'm going to call it Click Me. And then I'm going to hit the wrong shortcut. There we go. So we have a button, and it says Click Me. I'm going to click it. And at the moment, it doesn't do anything. Sad times, sad times. But we can easily add to this, so do not worry. So we're going to go ahead and just say if my button. And that is it. This is how we interact with our widgets. We just use the world's most simple if statement. So if my button, and this is basically going to be what is executed when you click the button. We're going to go with, it's going to be balloons. It's always balloons. Here we go. So when I click, we have balloons. Yay! Woo! The other thing we all love to do when we're clicking buttons is know how many times we've clicked it. That's very important to us as people. So let's take a look at this. So I'm going to start just by making a little bit of maybe a placeholder. Just going to call it counter text. And at the moment, I'm just going to say st.empty, and I'll show you why in a second. But we're just making a little bit of a placeholder that means we can go ahead and update it. So when we click it, we want to update it. So let's start our counter at 0. And let's go ahead and say if we click the button, counter is plus equal to 1. And then what we want to do, we want to say that counter text dot text, and we're going to use a beautiful f string and just say you clicked it and counter. And unfortunately, this is not going to work. Isn't this sad time? Because this is a teaching moment for you of one of the key things about Streamlit. So I'm going to click the button. I'm just going to fix the fact that I just didn't have a word at the end there. OK. But every time I click this, it's just going to say that I've clicked it one time. It's so sad. And this is because every single time we interact with a Streamlit script, it's going to go ahead and run from the top. So my counter is being set to 0 every single time. Very, very sad times. But the clever people at Streamlit thought of a solution. So it's not all over. We can count how many clicks. So what we're going to do instead is introduce you really quickly to something called the session state. So rather than just using something like counter, we're going to say if counter in st.session state, not in, there we go, that's better. Then we can say st.session state, and this is just a dictionary now. It's a special dictionary that's essentially persistent and in the background. I can store things in this dictionary, and that means it's not going to be lost on every rerun. So if it's not already there, let's say it's 0. Nice and simple. We can get rid of this garbage. No, thank you. We don't need you anymore. And down here, instead of just saying counter, it's going to be st.session state. Like so. I've definitely probably made a typo. Let's find out. Yeah, that's great. Where am I still using counter? Oh, here. Oops. So we can go ahead, quickly fix that so that we're using the counter from the built-in state dictionary. Oh, I'm kind of nervous. Yay! Woo! Thank you, thank you. Woo! I'm so glad that went okay. Nice. This is the rest of the talk now. I'm just gonna click. In fact, I think it would be really great if you could all click the button, right? You'd enjoy that. I'm not even kidding. We're going to make it so you guys can click the button. It's fine. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring back my sidebar, click deploy changes, click deploy changes, and I'm then going to invite all of you to join in. If you want to go ahead and scan the QR code or visit the page. Yep, so if you refresh the page, it's currently like live deploying. So it should hopefully be ready for all of you. Ooh. Common data button, deploy quicker. Oh, it thinks it's deployed. Oh, oh, oh. We're good? Yeah, if you refresh the page, you should now have the button, and you can now also go ahead and click the button. Oh, I'm being asked to please wait. Have you got balloons? Nice. Okay. Enjoy. My gift to all of you is a new hobby. Oh, yeah, this is something to note. You are not joint together. You are against each other in this button-clicking voyage. So session state is unique to each individual. It is the user's session state, not a global session state, which is good. It means you can have individual things for each individual. Oh, so good. So many balloons. Nice. Of course, it's not just buttons and balloons we can do. There are so many different widgets and inputs we can make. Rather than just, I don't know, telling you about them, I'm just going to go Streamlit docs. My computer's just going to crash a bit. That's fun. I think my computer gets nervous when it knows that people are watching it. Here we go. So there are so many different things we can do. The input widgets are my favorites. So we've got buttons, we've got a download button. So imagine you get someone to upload a CSV file. You then have Python magic that goes ahead and processes it into a certain format. You can then let the user download it again at the end. There are so many possibilities for all of these. You can have checkboxes, radio buttons, every sort of input your little heart could ever desire. You can probably do it with Streamlit. There's just so much it can do. It's pretty cool like that. Nice. The other thing I want to show you is I've just kind of made a word cloud thing that I would love you to all interact with. It should be visible by going to the link I've already given you. And if you click the little, is this a rainbow? Oh, I'm logged in. This is bad. There should be a little side button. I think the rainbow. Go to submit new answers. I've got questions for you. How are you feeling about Streamlit? And also, what's your favorite? Oh, okay. So someone's already said excited and ecstatic. So cool. But go ahead, submit your own word on how you're feeling about Streamlit. There's another question as well, which is, what is your favorite color? And this is joint. This is going to be a global word count. Word cloud even. see if anyone's added. Ooh. Nice. Excellent time, team. Do we have any favorite colors? Interesting. Okay. Your favorite color is interesting. That's cool. That's cool. No worries. It was confusing. There was a drop-down box, 2 different questions. It's fine. Cool. Okay. No worries. No worries. It's all good. I think it's struggling with how many people are on the or you're all just clicking the button, the balloons, aren't you? We've overloaded it with balloons. Cool. No worries. So I want to go ahead and really quickly wrap up. Useful things that you should know about working with Streamlit. So anytime there is a change, so a widget changes or the code changes, it's going to go ahead and run the entire script again from top to bottom. That probably sounds super inefficient. What if I'm loading a really large data frame? What if I've got a really complicated model that I'm trying to run? Fortunately, it's got some really fantastic caching options. So we can actually get it to cache a function, a data frame, or almost anything we want. So it's not going to go ahead and keep reloading all of those complex, large models. And you get to do that using decorators, which is just my favorite thing because it's such a fun part of Python that data scientists rarely ever get to play with. So it's like an opportunity to use decorators and feel like you know how decorators work. Session state to remember things. Something we kind of saw working with data button is a shared data frame as well. So when you were all not submitting things to the word cloud, what wasn't happening is that it wasn't adding it to a data frame that was joint between all of you. If you'd have added words, if it hadn't have crashed, then it would have been adding to a joint global data frame. Multi-page is also super easy. You just literally make multiple scripts, and then you have that sidebar come up. So much of what you saw just happens automatically with Streamlit. It's all so straightforward to get it running. Nice. Here's a little snippet of how the caching works. ST, cache data. So any Python primitive data types, data frames, API calls, anything like that, we can store it. Cache resource, we can also cache our machine learning models, database connections, and anything else we need as well. So it's incredibly versatile in terms of what you can actually optimize within the system. Nice. So what would I recommend you do if you're feeling even slightly inspired? First of all, join the community. There's an incredible Discord channel for Streamlit lovers. They've also got a forum. There's a great website. So go ahead and join the community. You can go ahead and practice and create whatever you can come up with. Just make it. It's so quick. It's so simple. It's great for prototyping as well. A great thing to do is learn in public. This is essentially where you do a project and you just share with the world what you did, how it went, what you learned. Sharing the challenges you've had can help someone else on their journey as well. And then go ahead and use the follow-up resources, which I will talk about in a second. Nice. Are there any questions? No. Awesome. Hi.
So you can obviously use Jupyter notebooks as well to do interactive reports, but what do you say is the specific strength or weaknesses for Streamlit over notebooks?
Yeah, so the question there was, why would we use this over Jupyter Notebooks? Because we love Jupyter Notebooks, they're great. It's a great question. So I think Jupyter Notebooks are amazing when we're working with a technical team, when everyone on the team knows Python and they're comfortable having Jupyter, Python, and everything installed. Streamlit really comes into its own when it comes to community and sharing. When you want to share with people that aren't as technical, when you want it to look interactive and pretty, that's when Streamlit becomes really useful. Thank you so much. Hi.
Hi, thanks very much. I've worked with Streamlit before, and I was just wondering, before Data Button was introduced as a third-party tool, was it possible to share your Streamlit apps with others? Because what I needed to do was I went to the marketing team and I said, this is the Python code, this is how you do it. You do Streamlit run, and then they actually have to interact with the Python code. But I wondered how else you can share that without using the third-party tool, if that was possible.
Yeah, amazing question. So Streamlit Community Cloud does that as well. So that is an automatically web-hosted solution. The other thing you can do is just pip install Streamlit on a cloud server. So AWS, Azure, anything you want to use, you can go ahead and install Streamlit on there. You would run it how you would normally run it. And then when you run on your local machine, you get localhost / blah, blah, blah. You just set up your firewall to allow the incoming connections. And instead of doing localhost, do the IP address of the server. And then you can share with anyone that way. So essentially, self-hosting on a server. Yeah.
Thank you.
Love that you've used Streamlit as well. Fantastic team.
Hi.
Hi.
2 quick questions. So first of all, can it run as well PySpark for big data?
Ooh, really interesting question. So yes, potentially, if you've got the server set up and everything you need. So if you're already running Spark on a cluster and you've got a Python environment, it's going to be able to run everything you need as long as you've installed all of the dependencies. So one part you didn't see on Data Button is there's a bit of a setup in the background to ensure that all of the libraries I need are installed and ready to go. You would need to self-host to get it to run with PySpark, because obviously you need the Spark framework running as well. But yeah, essentially it can interact with PySpark.
All right. And the second question is that if I publish the website and then I share it, if someone goes to inspect the source of the website, would they be able to see any of the Python code or anything that that I'm creating?
Really great question. So if I'm using Data Button or self-hosted, then no, because it's generating HTML, CSS, and doing it that way, so your code isn't exposed. Community Cloud, you do need to use public GitHub repositories. So for Community Cloud, it's always going to be publicly hosted code. They do have something called secrets, which is their way of getting around. Obviously, you don't want to put your API keys and your passwords in your GitHub repository. So it has its own secrets thing. So it depends what solution you're using. Community Cloud, yes, it's public. Everything else, no, your Python code stays discrete. And when it error messages as well, it does a really clever thing. It kind of says what the error is, but without revealing any code, which is really nice.
And sorry, one last thing. On Data Button, so is there a way, for example, that you can expand the storage of the web server that is hosting your website if you're holding a large amount of data? Or
great question. So you can connect it to any external source in the same way you would anything else. So if you want to create your own bucket on S3 on AWS, you can do that. You can have any external hosted data that you want and just connect to it how you would with any Python. I'm not sure about Data Button and their startup life and how they're running. But yeah, typically, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Great questions. Yeah.
How sustainable is it to build a pipeline? If I get real-time data from Reuters or Bloomberg, and I try to update the data every day, from an Excel spreadsheet, how can I have like a pipeline between Excel and Streamlit?
Yeah, super fun question. So the same way you would have any pipeline, essentially we're going to need a server that has some type of cron job or scheduled task to make that happen. It is fairly robust. Once the code is running, as long as there's no like drastic changes to your data, it should work. Data button, as a very specific tool, does have its own built-in scheduling system, so you can schedule scripts to run automatically in data button specifically. Community Cloud doesn't have anything like that, so you would need to look at a different solution. And yeah, if you're running it locally, you'd run it how you'd run any pipeline. Did that answer the question? Cool, okay. Amazing. Thank you.
Small follow-up. Is there like a gateway that you need to set up, or is it just like it runs on your machine and then takes the Excel file with the new data and then deploys it again?
You would need something to process, right? So something to do the update, but you can run it however you want. Like that would be external to Streamlit's environment. Cool.
What about just opening the spreadsheet? Because like the spreadsheet just automatically refresh data daily. Is
Yeah.
that going to trigger that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's essentially, you've got to remember, it's just running every time anyway. So if the data changes, it's going to have changed itself anyway. So yeah, pretty neat, right? Amazing. So thank you all for the questions there, and thank you for your attention and for coming to my talk. Feel free to connect on LinkedIn. I'd love to know your story and who you are, why you wanted to come to this talk, and if you're going to use Streamlit. I believe I'm going to hand back over now.